Teen years. During my young years and adolescence, I had many severe low blood sugars. I didn't have a blood glucose meter. All the testing was done through urine tests and monthly blood testing at the doctor's office. During this time, until about 18 years of age, I just wouldn't wake up in the morning, and my parents would spoon warm coffee with sugar in it into my mouth until I revived. I did miss a lot of school every year. Life with diabetes seemed so negative as I grew into being a teenager. It seemed I wouldn't have a life as my friends were looking forward to. I was told I probably would never have children, and careers were limited. Employers didn't want to hire a diabetic. However, and thankfully, I was very strong-willed, and I wanted a life just like the rest of the world. And I did marry. I have 2 adult sons, and I started working at the age of 17, and I still work full-time. Family life. My mother was so important in the early days as she read everything that was available, which wasn't much. She followed the doctor's orders and asked questions. She sought out another mother of a diabetic child, and she was my teacher. I didn't have an endocrinologist until I was 23 years old and pregnant with my first child. My children were born in 1973 and 1976. When the eldest was 4 years old, he woke up one morning and found me lying on the floor. I was unable to talk and unable to get up. I had diabetic paralysis. I will never forget the intense look on his face that day. This precious little boy set about to help his mom, and he did a great job until finally help arrived. He even checked on his 1-year-old baby brother to make sure he was okay in his crib. Stress and emotional turmoil causes problems with diabetes balance. I became a single mom when I suffered a divorce, and that brought much stress into my life. Those years I wasn't well controlled. I had so much on my plate, I hardly had time to think of myself. I needed a career to support my kids and myself, and I had to pay for my medication too, with no drug plan. I started on the road to full-time work and university. Professional life and being in the workplace. I completed a master's degree and finally a PhD. I'm currently working full-time as a family therapist. According to the Canadian Diabetes Association, there are approximately 9 million Canadians living with diabetes, and of course, many diabetics are in the workforce. I wrote an article titled Diabetics in the Workplace. It speaks specifically to the difficulties one finds being in the workplace with this chronic disease always on board. A day in the life of a diabetic. 24 hours a day, at home, work, play, all the time. Diabetes never goes away. So, I must always take insulin, follow a food plan, do regular exercise, and consistent glucose testing. So now I'll tell you what goes on in my head all day long. When did I last eat? Where's my glucose meter? What's my blood sugar? How many carbs are there in that cookie? Are my feet dry? I better brush my teeth and floss. How long until lunch? Do I have a doctor's appointment today? Maybe it's tomorrow. And that could be medical doctor, dentist, endocrinologist, dietitian, podiatrist, chiropractor, neurologist, maybe physiotherapist, and more. Is my blood sugar low, or am I just nervous? Is there any sugar nearby? Do I have my supplies bag with me? What time is it? What does the pump say? What is my A1C? I better get one ordered. And what will my friends say? And then there's a day traveling with diabetes. In my opinion, the most important thing when traveling is glucose testing. I want to know precisely what's going on and with all the unknowns, I want to be the best prepared possible. I make sure I'm prepared for the security checks and the long wait while they search my bags, do a pat down, swab my pump, and ask multitudinous questions. I also carry additional supplies with me for at least 3 times the expected stay. This proved beneficial when I fell and broke my femur bone while I was on holiday. I was able to have my pump and regulate my own diabetes control while in the hospital because I had enough supplies with me for that 2-week stay. Complications. As for my complications, so far, I have had 1,000 laser shots in each eye due to retinopathy and to prevent blindness. A year ago, I had cataracts removed from both eyes. I have mobility issues in my shoulders, hands, arms, and legs due to neuropathy, and I use a cane. I won't bore you with the details, but to let you know, I have had 8 surgeries in my life, including 2 cesarean sections, as natural birth was thought to be too dangerous. Diabetes didn't cause these surgeries, but the surgeries certainly complicated the disease. I also have sleep apnea, which I am told is very common with diabetics. Diabetes and dentistry. I personally see the dentist at least every 4 months, and this is why. I know the disease can harm the eyes, nerves, kidneys, heart, and other important systems in the body, and it can also cause problems in my mouth. People with diabetes are at special risk for periodontal gum disease, an infection of the gum and bone that hold the teeth in place. Periodontal disease can lead to painful chewing difficulties and even tooth loss. Dry mouth can cause often a symptom of high blood sugar levels, can cause soreness, ulcers, infections, and tooth decay. So what I try to do, I know that good blood glucose control is key to controlling and preventing mouth problems. People with poor blood glucose control get gum disease more often and more severely than people whose diabetes is well controlled. Daily brushing and flossing, regular dental checkups, and good blood glucose control are my best defense against the oral complications of diabetes. I am diabetic, and these are my constant companies: stereotypes, ignorance, and rudeness. Here are some of my examples. Not being allowed to go to the bathroom as much as needed. Being stared at when doing an injection or taking a blood test in a restaurant. Not being able to use sick time for diabetic doctor appointments. Expectations to work through lunch hour and not take breaks. Being yelled and swore at by a person because I don't look handicapped. I have a handicapped driving sign, so how do I have to look? And to go with these, the top 10 typical responses when you tell somebody that you're a type 1 diabetic are the following. Is that the bad kind? Did you eat too much candy as a child? My relative has type 2, so I know all about diabetes. So that means you can't eat sugar, right? Hey, at least it's not cancer. I could never give myself needles like you do. My grandma lost a foot to diabetes. But you're not overweight. I heard you can cure that with cinnamon. You don't look diabetic. I'm wearing the medal that I received from the Joslin Diabetes Center. They're located in Boston, Massachusetts. I received it October 21st, 2013. It says, Dear Mrs. Shaw, on behalf of the trustees, overseers, and staff of Joslin Diabetes Center, I take great pleasure in awarding to you the enclosed Certificate of Achievement and the Joslin 50-Year Medal. Joslin Diabetes Center established this award in 1970 to recognize the remarkable achievement of those individuals who have lived with insulin-dependent diabetes for 50 years or more. We now extend this tribute to you for your conscientious and courageous attention to the many difficult details involved in successfully living with diabetes over these many years. Congratulations and best wishes for continued good health. Sincerely, John L. Brooks. In conclusion, I'm proud to say that I have lived with the diabetic lifestyle all these years, and I intend to put more years on the calendar. The Joslin Institute gives a 75-year award, and I'd like to add it to my collection. I am a wife, mother, successful professional, and I am a diabetic. Diabetes has never made life easy. My family, friends, medical team, and coworkers, all in their own way, help me on this journey called life. It has been my pleasure sharing with you today.